Well, hello. It's been a while since we've spoken. I think the last little spoken word thing I did was around the start of COVID, and there's been it's a world of difference since then. The place almost looks unrecognisable. Anyway, I won't take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to talk today about conflict resolution. What does the Bible say about it? Given there is so much of it right now, and there are things threatening to split churches apart, namely in how churches deal with vaccine passports, for example. A lot of churches will throw around this submission to authorities, but I think in the past that could be used to justify all sorts of abuses. So we need to be careful. We submit to God, and we submit to authorities that He has placed. But that doesn't mean that we submit to rules and laws that go against God's law. And there's a difference too, I think, between resisting and just not complying. Right? There's a difference between actively resisting and just not complying with a ruling. Right? But that's up to each person to navigate. What I want to do is just point out some Bible verses here for when Christians are fighting each other, or Christians in the church have issues. Because first up we got Matthew, right? The instruction in Matthew. If you Matthew 18:15-17, if your brother sins against you, go tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained a brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. So I think, obviously there's got to be some sort of relationship, right, in the context of the church. But I think that's the start, man. Is we go and talk to the person, go and talk one-on-one, man to man. We don't do the gossipy thing. Don't triangulate. Don't try and manipulate other people to do stuff for us. Let's just man up. Just go to your brother and say, dude, you've wronged me. Ta-da. And if you can work it out between the two of you, then it's brilliant. All right. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along, right? So you've got witnesses, and you've got because you know what, like the one or two others may be able to point out where you're wrong. Maybe impartial. There's a degree of impartiality, I guess. But a person who is invested in the two of you getting along will hopefully be a peacemaker, right? And then, of course, if you still can't fix it up, then you go to the church, go to the wider body, and then. Now, in lockdowns, of course, that's really hard. We can't. We're not allowed to have general meetings and this sort of stuff. And Zoom is people are going on about it. And look, Zoom is great for what it does, and I love FaceTime and that sort of stuff, in that they allow us to reach people, talk to people, have a relationship with people like continents apart. So that's fantastic. But nothing replaces, actually being in a room with someone, especially for musicians creating music together. Man, we have suffered under lockdown, not being able to share space and react, because over online there's always latency. Right, so that you just can't do it, because by the time, if I'm playing along, by the time you hear it, there's a delay, and then when I hear it back, there's a delay. It's impossible. Anyway, look, I'm going to keep reading. So James 1-19, It says, "Know this, my beloved brother, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger." Now, I'm being a very impetuous vocalist who can create sort of, on the fly really quickly. The link between my mouth and my brain is quite small, and so I tend to be one who is quick to speak. And being in dealing with a language of emotion all the time, I'm a very passionate person. So in relational matters, I can be slow to anger, but I'm a passionate musician. So this speaks to me about what I can do better, or more biblically, to be more biblically, to behave more biblically, which is quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. So let's listen more. Let's pause, man. I wish, with the Facebook stuff, I wish, for the love of God, I wish, there are so many conversations I wish I'd paused to pray before responding. Pause to pray before hitting that response. There's nothing like send regret. You sent it and then you're like, do a draft. Put it in your inbox, in your to send later. Sleep on it. And because here we go. Proverbs 15 verse 1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Tone. And unfortunately that's what we lose online, right? There's no tone. We can, how do you write softly? I don't know, but you can phrase something vocally. You can say something difficult in a beautiful tone, in a loving tone, can't you? So that's what we lose, and we lose the smiley face, where it's like, dude, you know what? I think you really suck. If there's no smile and there's no tone, and you're just reading, dude, I think you really suck. Anyway. A gentle answer turns away wrath. I think this is the thing is, man, pick up the phone rather than do the email as much as possible. And if you can, or do a FaceTime, or go for a walk with someone. Do what you can to meet in person. But now, here we go. Check this one out. Romans 12, 17 to 21. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honourable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all, beloved. Never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So right here is the solution to world peace, isn't it? How many wars and generational feuds and this sort of stuff. How many marriages have been destroyed because of the tit for tat? You did such and such, so then the turning the other cheek, man. And it's so counter. It's one of the best teachings of Jesus that I find in that it's so counter instinctive. It doesn't come naturally to turn the other cheek. But this is Paul, Roman, who's writing this in Romans. But Jesus has the instruction about turning the other cheek. But I love what Paul says here about not just pray for your enemy, but actually give him, help him out. If he's hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. And this is the thing, right? Is I love Solzhenitsyn, Solzy, I call him. Alexander, the Russian writer who that's I'm rendering a video and that's the signal. It's done. Anyway, he spent time in the gulags in Russia. Look, he's got so many great quotes. I love it. He said when he was a young man, he heard people say, that the problems that befell Mother Russia were because men have forgotten God. That's why all of this has happened, right? And he said, as he grew older and he became an academic, and he read history books, wrote books, and he said he unpacked all of these volumes and read, wrote 4 volumes of his own or whatever it is, and at the end of it all, after he'd done all of that, he said the best answer he could come up with for the disasters that befell Mother Russia were, men have forgotten God. That's why all this has happened. Same thing. But look, one of the things I love that Solzy said was, if only you could take all the evil people and and put them in one place, just. But he said the dividing line between good and evil runs through every human heart, and through the human heart, through every human heart. And so even in the most wonderfully good person, there's a little unuprooted section of evil, and in the most evil heart, there's still a little shred of good in there. Still got some good. Anyway, and so this is the thing: is you beat. How do you defeat evil? And I say this to my kids, man: you defeat evil by choosing good, because evil is something that's in you. It's not in the other. And man, in our culture today, we've got this thing of like, oh, they're the evil people. They're the evil people. The Democrats are saying the Republicans are evil. Republicans are saying the Democrats are evil. In Australia, Liberal are saying Labor's evil. Labor's saying Liberal, or there's the Green. Like everyone's like doing a screaming match and calling the other one evil. And the reality is, evil is in all of us. All of us could be Hitler. That's the frightening thing. That's, I think, why we have to make demons out of these people. Yes, I think that the demons do exist and they do influence people. But they're people. And the reality is any of us could be a Hitler if we so chose. If we were in the same situation and we were presented. It's the thing of like power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you're in the spot, God help us. There but for the grace of God go we all. That's a good saying. And so this is the thing. Big, small, powerful, no powerful, money, no money. We defeat evil every time we're confronted with the choice to do something wrong, and we do the right thing. And I define good and evil. I once had I did some Uber driving once, and I had this conversation with a guy who worked for Google, and they had their saying, "Don't be evil," right? And I said, "So define evil." And he went, "Google, define evil." Just give me your philosophy. Define evil. Anyway, after conversing, I gave my definition of evil, which is which ultimately there's a dividing line, right, between good and evil, and you can extend it out. And the dividing line that I put, there are 2 definitions. So one is doing the will of God, that's good, and evil is going against the will of God. Okay, but just leaving God out of the picture for a minute. Good is when we choose to sacrifice our own agenda for another's benefit, and evil is when we sacrifice our own benefit. Sacrifice our own. Good is when we sacrifice our own agenda for another's benefit, and evil is when we sacrifice another's benefit for our own agenda. Step on someone's head to climb the wall. I want to climb the wall, but I'm going to let you climb up instead. Okay, so you could call it selflessness. Okay, and of course, if you go out to the extremes, well, you got like say Mother Teresa giving up her whole life to sacrificing her whole life to help lepers, or you've got Hitler again wiping out millions of people to achieve his worldview, the realization. Anyway. So this is the thing, it's like that's my deal, is we because what hope have we to bring world peace? We can bring peace to ourselves, and we can bring peace to the brother who we've sinned against, who maybe